PCX 36 by Max Beerbohm, written in the manner of Rudyard Kipling. Then it's collar 'em tight, in the name of the Lord. Hustle 'em, shake 'em till he's sick. What? He would he? Well, then you've got to give 'em hell. And it's trunch, truncheon does the trick. Police station ditties. I had spent Christmas Eve at the club listening to a grand powwow between certain of the choicer sons of Adam. Then Slushby had cut in. Slushby is one who writes to newspapers and is theirs obediently humanitarian. When Slushby cuts in, men remember they have to be up early next morning. Sharp around a corner on the way home, I collided with something firmer than the regulation pillar box. I righted myself after the recoil and saw some stars that were very pretty indeed. Then I perceived the nature of the obstruction. "Evening, Judlip," I said sweetly, when I had collected my hat from the gutter. "Have I broken the law, Judlip? If so, I'll go quiet." "Time you was in bed," grunted X 36. "Your ma'll be looking out for you." This from the friend of my bosom. It hurt. Many were the night beats I had been privileged to walk with Judlip, imbibing curious lore that made glad the civilian heart of me. 7 whole 8 by 5 inch notebooks had I Pitmanized to the brim with Judlip. And now to be repulsed as one of the uninitiated, it hurt horrid. There is a thing called dignity. Small boys sometimes stand on it. Then they have to be kicked. Then they get down weeping. I don't stand on dignity. "What's wrong, Judlip?" I asked, more sweetly than ever. "Drawn a blank tonight?" "Yus. Drawn a blank. Haven't had so much as a kick at a lorst dorg. Christmas Eve ain't what it was." I felt for my notebook. "Lord, I remembers the time when the drunks and disorderlies down the street was as thick as flies on a fly paper. One just picked a morph with one's finger and thumb, a bloomin' batu. That's what it was." "The night's yet young, Judlip," I insinuated, with a jerk of my thumb at the flaring windows of the Rat and Bloodhound. At that moment the saloon door swung open, admitting a man and woman who walked with linked arms and exceeding great care. Judlip eyed them longingly as they tacked up the street. Then he sighed. Now when Judlip sighs, the sound is like unto which issues from the vent of a Crosby boiler when the con gauges are at 260 Fahrenheit. "Come, Judlip," I said, "possess your soul in patience. You'll soon find someone to make an example of. Meanwhile," I threw back my head and smacked my lips. "The usual, Judlip?" In another minute I emerged through the swing door bearing a furtive glass of that same usual and nipped down the mews where my friend was wont to await these little tokens of esteem. "To the majesty of the law, Judlip." When he had honored the toast, I scooted back with the glass, leaving him wiping the beads of his beard bristles. He was in his philosophic mood when I rejoined him at the corner. "What am I?" he said, as we paced along. "A bloomin' cipher. What's the sergeant?" "He's got the inspector over him." "Over above the inspector, there's the superintendent. Over above him's the old red tape masticatin' yard. Over above that, there's the home sec. What's he? A cipher like me." "Why?" Judlip looked up at the stars. "Over above him's we dunno what. Something what issues its orders and regulations and divisional injunctions, inscrutable like, but peremptory. And we as ter see how they're carried out, not arsking no questions, but each man going about his duty." "His duty?" said I, looking up from my notebook. "Yes, I've got that." "Life ain't a bean feast. It's a 'arsh reality. And them as makes it a bean feast has got to be 'arshly dealt with accordin'. That's what the forces put here for from above. Not as how we ain't fallible. We makes our mistakes, and when we makes them, we sticks to 'em, for the honor of the force, which same as the jewel Britannia wears on her bosom as a charm against anarchy. That's what the brasted old beaks don't understand. You remember Smithers of our div?" I remembered Smithers well. As fine, upstanding, square-toed, bullet-headed, clean-living a son of a gun as ever perjured himself in the box. There was nothing of the softy about Smithers. I took off my billycock to Smithers' memory. Sacrifice to public opinion? Yus, said Judlip, pausing in a front door and flashing his .45 CP down the slot of a 2-grade Yale. Sacrifice to a parcel of screaming old women what ort to have gorn down on their knees and thanked God for such a protector. You'll be out in another half-year. What'll he do then, poor devil? Go a bust on his conduct money and thrown in his lot with them same hexperts what add a holy terror of him. Then Judlip swore gently. What should you do, O great one, if ever were your duty to apprehend him? Do? Why, you're blessed innocent. You don't think I'd shrink a fair, clean cop. Same time, I don't say as how I wouldn't handle him tender like for sake of what he was. Likewise, cause he'd be a stiff customer to tackle. Likewise, cause he had broken off, and was peering fixedly upwards at an angle of 85 degrees across the moonlit street. Hello, he said in a hoarse whisper. Striking an average between the direction of his eyes for Judlip, when on the job, has a soul-stirring squint, I perceived someone in the act of emerging from a chimney pot. Judlip's voice clove the silence. What are you doing up there? The person addressed came to the edge of the parapet. I saw then that he had a hoary white beard, a red ulster with the hood up, and what looked like a sack over his shoulder. He said something or other in a voice like a concertina that has been left out in the rain. I dessay, answered my friend. Just you come down, and we'll see about that. The old man nodded and smiled. Then, as I hoped to be saved, he came floating gently down through the moonlight, with the sack over his shoulder and a young fir tree clasped to his chest. He alighted in a friendly manner on the curb beside us. Judlip was the first to recover himself. Out went his right arm, and the airman was slung round the scruff of the neck, spilling his sack in the road. I made a beeline for his shoulder blades. Burglar or no burglar, he was the best airman out, and I was muchly desirous to know the precise nature of the apparatus under his ulster. A backhander from Judlip's left caused me to hop quickly aside. The prisoner was squealing and whimpering. He didn't like the feel of Judlip's knuckles at his cervical vertebrae. What was you doing up there? Asked Judlip, tightening the grip. I'm Santa Claus. Sir, please, sir, let me go. Hold him, I shouted. He's a German. It's my duty to caution you that whatever you say now may be used in evidence against your old sinner. Pick up that there sack and come along with me. The captive snibbled something about peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Yus, said Judlip. That's in the New Testament, ain't it? The New Testament contains some uncommon nice reading for old gents and young ladies, but it ain't included in the library or the force. We confine ourselves to the Old Testament. O.T. Ought and ought you'll get it. Up with that sack, and quick march. I've seen worse attempts at a neck wrench, but it was just not slippery enough for Judlip. And the kick that Judlip then let fly was a thing of beauty and a joy forever. Frogs march him, I shrieked, dancing. For the love of heaven, frogs march him. Trotting by Judlip's side to the station, I reckoned it out that if Schlushby had not been at the club, I should not have been here to see. Which shows that even Schlushbys are put into this world for a purpose,